It's a terrifying charade, a calculated assault, and a state plunged into fear. Early on June 14, 2025, the sanctuary of the home was violated in the most horrific way by two Minnesota state lawmakers. An assailant, brazenly disguised as a police officer, complete with a mock squad car, unleashed a deadly wave of violence, targeting elected officials right in their own homes. State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband were tragically killed in Brooklyn Park. Miles away in Champlin, State Senator John Hoffman and his wife were also shot, and they're now battling for their lives. According to officials, this isn't just a crime, it's an assault on the very fabric of public service. It's a nightmare unfolding in real time as a desperate statewide search for this imposter continues. We're tracking every development, every chilling detail, every breaking update. Imagine this, flashing lights in your driveway, a figure in uniform at your door. Normally, that's a symbol of safety, of help arriving. But what if it's all a lie? What if the person you're trained to trust is the bringer of your worst nightmare? For two Minnesota families, this horrifying scenario became a brutal reality. An attacker, disguised in the authority of law enforcement, twisted trust into terror, leaving behind a trail of bloodshed and a state now on high alert. The terror started in the dark early hours of Saturday, June 14, 2025. Around 2 a.m., a distress call shattered the pre-dawn quiet in Champlin, Minnesota. State Senator John Hoffman and his wife, Yvette, were discovered in their home, suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. It quickly became clear the assailant was no ordinary criminal. Just a short time later, and only a few miles away in Brooklyn Park, the nightmare worsened. Responding officers, likely already on high alert from what happened in Champlin, went to the home of State Representative Melissa Hortman. And there, they encountered the suspect right at the door. This individual, described as a white male with brown hair, was wearing black body armor over a blue shirt and blue pants. He looked like a police officer. But he didn't just look the part, he was equipped, carrying a taser and other police gear. His deception was thorough. His vehicle was meticulously altered to look like a police cruiser, even fitted with police lights. The confrontation at Representative Hortman's home turned violent almost instantly. The suspect opened fire on the responding officers, who fired back. In the chaos that followed, this fake cop managed to get away on foot, disappearing into the neighborhood and kicking off a massive manhunt. The calculated way these attacks were carried out, the impersonation, and the fact that specific people were targeted in their homes, all point to a deeply disturbing and premeditated plan. The violence from this imposter has inflicted an irreparable wound on Minnesota and its political community. State Representative Melissa Hortman, a prominent Democrat and the former Speaker of the Minnesota House of Representatives, was tragically killed in the attack at her Brooklyn Park home alongside her husband, Mark. His voice was heavy with grief, and Governor Tim Walz described her as a formidable public servant and irreplaceable. He said, "Our state lost a great leader, and I lost my dearest friends." Speaker Hortman served the people of Minnesota with grace, compassion, humor, and a sense of service. Her career began with her first election in 2004 and was marked by dedication and leadership. State Senator John Hoffman, also a Democrat, first elected in 2013, and his wife, Yvette, were both shot multiple times in their Champlin home. They underwent emergency surgery, and as of the latest updates, authorities are expressing cautious optimism for their survival. Senator Hoffman is known for running Hoffman Strategic Advisors, a consulting firm, and his previous service as vice chair of the Anoka-Hennepin School Board, Minnesota's largest school district. News of their injuries sent even more shockwaves through a community already reeling. These weren't anonymous victims but well-known figures dedicated to the people they served and their state. The attacks felt personal, not just against individuals but against the very idea of public service. So, who is this man who put on a police uniform to commit such terrible acts? Authorities have described a white male with brown hair, last seen wearing black body armor over a blue shirt and pants. He's considered armed and extremely dangerous. The lengths he went to impersonate law enforcement are just bone-chilling. Minnesota Department of Public Safety Commissioner Bob Jacobson said the suspect's disguise was so convincing that if the individual were in this room, you'd think it was a police officer. He added that the suspect wore a vest, carried a taser, and had a badge similar to mine. And the deception didn't stop there. His vehicle was described as looking exactly like a police vehicle, an SUV squad car, complete with lights and sirens. Perhaps the most disturbing evidence found so far is what authorities call a manifesto or a list of names. This document, discovered inside the suspect's fake police vehicle, reportedly contained the names of the victims, Representative Hortman and Senator Hoffman, as well as other lawmakers and officials. This discovery suggests these attacks weren't random but a calculated and targeted campaign. Governor Walz himself has described the events as what appears to be a politically motivated assassination. Security has been immediately ramped up to protect everyone whose name appeared on this ominous list, highlighting the ongoing threat. The existence of such a list changes this from a horrifying crime into a potential conspiracy, raising urgent questions about the suspect's motives, any possible accomplices, and just how far his violent plans went. With a dangerous and deceptive suspect still out there, law enforcement agencies have kicked off a massive, multi-jurisdictional manhunt. Right after the shootings, a shelter-in-place order was issued for a large area, a 3-mile radius around the Edinburgh Golf Course in Brooklyn Park. This is near where the suspect was last seen after trading gunfire with police. Residents in this zone were urged to lock their doors, stay away from windows, and immediately call 911 if they saw anything suspicious. Police warned residents not to approach anyone matching the suspect's description and to be cautious of anyone claiming to be law enforcement. They advised calling 911 to verify an officer's identity if there are doubts, especially if only one officer shows up at their door. The seriousness of this situation has triggered a huge response. The FBI has teamed up with the Minnesota Department of Public Safety and various local police forces, including the Brooklyn Park Police Department and the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, which is now leading the investigation. Governor Tim Walz activated the State Emergency Operations Center to coordinate all the efforts to support local law enforcement in Champlin and Brooklyn Park and to manage the statewide alert. The message from authorities is crystal clear. This individual is a clear and present danger to the public, and every single resource is being used to bring him to justice. The fact that he successfully pretended to be an officer makes him especially dangerous, undermining the trust between communities and the police. This search isn't just about catching a fugitive, it's about bringing back a sense of security to a state that's been deeply shaken. And with every hour that passes, the urgency grows. These brazen attacks have sent fear and outrage far beyond Champlin and Brooklyn Park. Across Minnesota and the entire nation, leaders are voicing their horror and condemnation. Governor Tim Walz has been out front, calling the incident an unspeakable tragedy and a politically motivated assassination. His updates clearly show his deep personal grief and his strong resolve to see the perpetrator caught. U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar said she was heartbroken and horrified, pointing out that the victims were close friends and dedicated public servants. Republican leaders, like Senate Minority Leader Mark Johnson and House Speaker Lisa DeMuth, strongly condemned the violence, offering prayers for the victims and the law enforcement officers working tirelessly on the case. Speaker DeMuth stated she was shocked and horrified by the evil attack that took place overnight. The national response has been quick. Gabby Giffords, who herself survived a horrific assassination attempt in 2011, said she was horrified and heartbroken by the news coming out of Minnesota. Even former President Donald Trump was briefed on the situation. He released a statement calling it a targeted attack against state lawmakers. He promised that his Attorney General and the FBI would ensure prosecution to the fullest extent of the law. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi also confirmed that the FBI is on the ground and that such horrific violence will not be tolerated. But beyond the official statements, you can feel a real sense of unease in the community. The shelter-in-place order, while necessary, definitely disrupted lives and ramped up anxiety. And what is the advice for double-checking the identity of any officer at your door? It's a stark reminder of how this attacker has twisted symbols of trust into weapons. The people of Champlin, Brooklyn Park, and all Minnesotans are looking for reassurance, answers, and, more than anything, for the quick capture of the person who brought this nightmare to their homes. The united condemnation is powerful, but the real test will be the community's resilience and cooperation with law enforcement to ensure no one else gets hurt. Right now, the manhunt for the suspect who impersonated a police officer and targeted Minnesota lawmakers is still going on with intense urgency. He's still out there and is considered armed and dangerous. Federal, state, and local authorities work non-stop to find and catch him. The description hasn't changed: a white male with brown hair, wearing black body armor over a blue shirt and blue pants. Residents are still being urged to stay vigilant and report any sightings or suspicious activity to 911 immediately. The investigation into that manifesto or list of names found in the suspect's vehicle is a huge focus. This list, which included Representative Hortman, Senator Hoffman, and other officials, is key to understanding the motive behind these horrific attacks Governor Walz has described as appearing to be a politically motivated assassination. Security for everyone named on that list remains heightened. As for the victims, the tragic news is confirmed: State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark have died. Medical efforts now focus on State Senator John Hoffman and his wife, Yvette. The latest we've heard is that they are both out of surgery after being shot multiple times. Officials have said they're cautiously optimistic about their chances of survival, a small piece of hope in this incredibly dark situation. Authorities have also confirmed that when Brooklyn Park police arrived at Representative Hortman's home, the suspect was there and immediately opened fire. This led to an exchange of gunfire before he got away. This confrontation just shows how willing he is to violently engage with the police. As the search continues, the shelter-in-place order for the 3-mile radius around the Edinburgh Golf Course in Brooklyn Park remains important. However, the manhunt is definitely wider than that. Law enforcement is painstakingly trying to piece together the suspect's movements, background, and any connections that could lead to his capture. The public is being asked to stay patient but alert, as this is an active and constantly changing situation. Every single piece of information is vital. This is a direct appeal to everyone listening. If you have any information, no matter how small it might seem, about the suspect, where he might be, or any details about these attacks, please contact 911 or the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension immediately. Your tip could be the very thing that ends this nightmare. Stay vigilant, check on your neighbors, and please, if you're unsure about any unexpected law enforcement at your door, call 911 directly to verify their identity. We'll keep you updated on this critical situation as we get them. Subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any developments in this urgent manhunt and the ongoing investigation. What happened on June 14th in Minnesota is a stark and horrifying reminder of how vulnerable we can be, even those in public service, and the twisted ways trust can be turned into a weapon. A community is mourning, a state is on edge, and the shadow of this dangerous imposter looms large. The deaths of Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband are a terrible loss, an act of violence that has struck right at the heart of Minnesota's democracy. And as Senator John Hoffman and his wife fight for their recovery, the determination to find their attacker only grows stronger. This wasn't just an attack on individuals, it was an attack on the institutions they stand for and the peace of the communities they serve. The days ahead will be critical in the hunt for justice and uncovering the full story behind this Minnesota nightmare. Our thoughts are with the victims, their families, and the brave law enforcement officers working to restore safety and bring this person to account. We'll keep you informed. Stay safe. If you feel this video is informative, please like and share this video. Also, subscribe to be notified when a new video is uploaded.